newly finished residential tower at night. 40 floors, hundreds of windows, 3 lights on. 10 minutes away, one family has spent months on a public housing waiting list and another shares a flat with 2 strangers because the rent is out of reach. The buildings exist. They are built, registered, and connected to the grid. Nobody simply lives inside them. That image contradicts everything we are told about the housing problem, which is almost always explained as a shortage of supply. The question holding this video together is simple and disconcerting. Why are there homes without people and people without homes at the same time? Start with the mechanism, which is financial before it is urban. A dwelling can generate a return in 2 ways. The first is renting it out and collecting a monthly income. The second is simply holding it while its price rises. If expected appreciation beats what renting would yield, keeping a flat empty stops being carelessness and becomes a strategy. A tenant means wear, management, taxes, regulation, and less liquidity when selling. An empty flat sells tomorrow and shows immaculately. Put differently, for part of the stock, housing is not a service being provided, but a store of value being kept. From this follows the first uncomfortable answer to another common question. Why does building more not automatically lower prices? For 3 concrete reasons. First, new construction almost always enters at the top of the market, because expensive land forces expensive product. Second, filtering, the process by which a dwelling ages and cheapens until it reaches middle incomes, takes decades rather than electoral terms. Third, and decisively, if part of demand is investment demand, building more does not satisfy it, it feeds it. Every new development is also a new asset available to capital looking for somewhere to sit. There is evidence about what happens when a city tries to correct this. Vancouver applied a specific tax on unoccupied housing. The results are clear and instructive. The vacancy rate fell from around 1% to roughly half that, the number of empty flats dropped below 1,000 for the first time, and the tax raised close to $200 million earmarked for social housing. An independent academic study estimated several thousand dwellings returned to the market that would otherwise have stayed shut. But the same study found something worth underlining: average rents did not fall. Availability improved and affordability did not. They are 2 different problems. Now look at the Spanish figures, because they explain the paradox better than any theory. The latest census identified around 3,800,000 vacant dwellings, roughly 14% of the total stock, plus another 2.5 million in occasional use. It sounds like an obvious solution: there are homes to spare. And here comes the counter-argument, probably the most important figure in this whole video. Around 45% of those vacant homes sit in municipalities of fewer than 10,000 inhabitants, where barely 1/5 of the population lives. In cities above 250,000 inhabitants, home to almost 1/4 of the country, only about 1/10 of the total is found. In other words, Spanish vacancy is mostly a symptom of depopulation, not of hoarding. A shuttered flat in a village of 300 people does not compete with a flat in a pressured district of a major city, nor can it house someone who works there. Anyone claiming that mobilizing the vacant stock would solve the crisis is adding apples to oranges. And a consequence follows that often unsettles the critical position: in genuinely pressured areas, vacancy is low and the shortage of supply is a real problem. Building does matter. Building in the right place matters even more. It can still be argued that the counter-argument does not close the debate either. That vacancy concentrates far away does not remove the fact that, inside pressured cities, a growing share of the stock has been withdrawn from permanent residential use. It is not always empty, it is let by the season, handed to visitors, reserved for occasional use, or bought by companies holding it in portfolio. The practical result is identical. That housing exists physically and is unavailable to someone who needs to register an address, enroll a child in school and sign a multi-year contract. The scarcity in those districts is not of buildings. It is of accessible housing on stable terms. The editorial opinion is this, and I flag it as such. The mistake is treating housing as one market with one price. In reality, 2 logics coexist: the household seeking shelter and the capital seeking yield and refuge. As long as the second can outbid the first for the same square meter, no rate of construction will ever catch up. That is why the policies that work combine 3 things at once: more supply where demand genuinely is, a permanent public stock that never returns to the market, and taxation that penalizes holding housing idle in pressured areas. Any one of the 3 on its own falls short. Return to the opening question. Why are there homes without people and people without homes? Because, in general, they are not on the same map, and because where they do overlap, the housing serves a purpose other than shelter. The paradox is not resolved by counting buildings, but by asking what each one is for. So when the next headline figure on vacant homes appears, the useful question is not how many exist in the country. The useful question is how many exist in the particular neighborhood where somebody cannot find a flat, who owns them, and what exactly that owner gains by leaving the light off.